This wedding was like it was Donna's wedding. He stormed out. And did he say, I told you should never be marrying her? If only they had listened.
They were not trying to take your children unless there was an event where you were unable to care for them.
But because there's no event in which I would be unable to care for them.
Why have Mr. Markel's parents not been allowed to see the grandchildren?
At some point, there was a platter of food where the meat was with the cheese and he lost it.
What was wrong with television that had to be repaired?
Our beautiful Indian princess was asked several questions and she did end up winning some money. This particular question was posed to her and she did get it right.
The last time Rob Adelson saw his entire family together was in early July of 2014.
Many years before the Dan Markel case became popular, this particular podcast, Over My Dead Body, covered the entire case in great detail. Let's listen.
Harvey, his dad, was turning 70 and the Adelsons threw a big party at their new Miami Beach condo. Rob and Haritha flew down with their 2 children. Wendy was there with her boys. Charlie was there too, of course. The crowd milled through the apartment and out onto the patio, which faced the golden sand of South Point Beach. A chef, who Wendy hired, served paella.
It's pronounced paella.
Paella.
I speak Spanish.
Harvey had grown up as a working-class kid in Brooklyn. Now he was living in a luxury complex in Miami, filled with celebrities and other multimillionaires. He had his 3 children, a doctor, a dentist, and a lawyer, and his 4 grandchildren. What more could a Jewish parent want?
I'm sorry, I'm not Jewish.
I'm Jewish.
She's Jewish.
Does a typical Jewish grandmother suggest dressing her grandchildren up in Nazi uniforms?
Not to my knowledge.
You're not Jewish or anything? Okay.
Jewish mother.
Jewish grandmother. Jewish mother.
You're a miserable Jew and you're going to get what you deserve. Do you remember saying that?
Yep.
I know he was a devout Jew.
It was just a few weeks later that Rob and Haritha got the phone call that Dan had been shot.
Donna called me on Saturday morning.
This was the first time we heard the beautiful Indian princess Haritha. She's a doctor married to Rob Adelson.
I think she had already tried Rob and couldn't get through.
Yeah, she had texted me a couple. I was at a meeting out of town, and when they spoke to me, they told me they'd already talked to Haritha. They texted me a couple times, and then they texted me they need to talk to me right now.
Like Donna Sue and Wendy Jill, Haritha appeared on a game show. This one was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It aired on November 15, 2013. Our beautiful Indian princess was asked several questions and she did end up winning some money. This particular question was posed to her and she did get it right. The answer is B. This was another interesting question posed to our Indian princess. To keep their female gorilla population at a reasonable number, zoos typically provide them with what? A. Condoms. B. Birth control pills. C. Excuses. D. A hotter gorilla friend. Based upon my ex-wife's daily rejection of me, I would have chose C, but old Haritha got it right. She chose B. This was the final question that Haritha answered. She ended up winning $55,600.
We now meet Donna Adelson from Coral Springs, Florida. I want to hear all about you, Donna. Let's go.
Well, I'm its domestic coordinator.
Welcome to the weakest link.
When I was little, I wanted to be a giraffe.
Is there anything else you've ever dreamed of?
Well, I was in the circus for a while.
Like Donna Sue and Wendy Jill, Haritha did appear on a game show. However, she's the only one that I can see that's semi-normal.
As a contortionist.
Rob excused himself from his meeting and stepped outside.
They explained that something has happened. Somebody shot Danny, and they took him to the hospital, but he didn't make it.
He tried calling Wendy.
I called her multiple times. I called my parents multiple times. Finally, she actually called me at a strange time during the day when I happened to be free. She said she didn't want to talk about anything because her kids were around. Yeah, she said she really just wanted to leave a message. And I said, well, you called me. I asked her point blank, what do you think happened? Her response was, well, Danny had no shortage of enemies. But that's the most we've talked about it. And that's one of 2 conversations we've had since Danny was killed.
Later, Rob would want to talk more with his family about what happened to Dan.
They just didn't want to talk about it.
They kept saying that it doesn't involve them, and that Wendy felt that I was only interested in who would have done this, which seems like a normal reaction when someone you know well is gunned down in their home.
Is a person dying from gun violence an extremely unusual thing to happen in your family?
Not really. Someone gets shot in our family every other month.
To this day, Danny's the only person that I know who's died from gun violence or been a victim of gun violence, so it's unique in that manner.
I think not being interested in a murder of someone you know well is unusual.
He never did get a straight answer from his family. And as affidavits appeared, suggesting members of his family may have ordered Dan's murder, Rob stopped speaking with them altogether. Tallahassee police believed they had enough evidence to arrest 4 people: Sigfredo Garcia, Luis Rivera, Katie Magbanoa, and Charlie Adelson. It's been years since Rob Adelson has spoken with his little sister.
I would certainly wish things were a different way. I certainly wish I had some siblings, share a common story and a common background. I do miss her. There's certain things I see that I knew she would think is funny. That's just not available to me.
Do you ever think about picking up the phone when you see something funny and texting her?
No.
Very smart move by Rob.
Looking back, Rob and Haritha say there were warning signs right from the start, even at the wedding.
It felt strange. It was more of like
there was a lot of tension.
Yeah.
It was palpable. You could feel the tension between the two because there had been other events leading up to this. There was some discord already.
The wedding that others said was so beautiful.
It was like an 80s bar mitzvah with, lights and, no fireworks, but that's probably because it was inside, lasers. That's what it felt like, more like a bar mitzvah.
And they remember the kosher mix-up really well.
He had a rabbi friend who was there, he was close to from Harvard, and apparently at some point there was a platter of food where the meat was with the cheese and he lost it.
For some weird reason, Jews that keep kosher believe that you can't mix cheese with meat.
And he said, "Meat and cheese, Danny," and he stormed out. And did he say something like, "You should never marry? I told you should never be marrying her." If only they had listened.
But for them, the wedding also gave an indication of just how controlling Wendy's parents could be.
This wedding was like it was Donna's wedding. Wendy was in law school and she really didn't care. She apparently had once said that she just wanted to get married on the beach. She had told Rob that. Instead, she was married in a very elaborate Orthodox wedding with, I think, maybe 8 or 9 bridesmaids. And so this was the opposite of that. But all the details were really made by Donna.
And that, Haritha says, carried on right through the divorce.
Weddings are very hard for a narcissist because they believe their offspring are a simple extension of themselves. Therefore, they cannot think or act on their own. Wendy Jill probably didn't even want to get married at that time, at that particular place. But old Donna Sue made sure she had a wedding that she would have liked, not Wendy Jill.
They were very involved in the marriage and they were definitely involved in the divorce. It was really felt like it was their divorce.
Donna and Harvey occasionally send birthday cards to Rob and Haritha's children, but it's been years since they've seen them in person.
I don't think they're that interested in my kids, unfortunately.
One of the jurors was a little confused with the timing. You had said you had a boyfriend and that it was not clear to them whether you said it was a month after your separation and filing for divorce or a month after it was finalized.
One of the coolest things about Florida law is it allows the jurors to ask questions directly to a witness. The ability for jurors to ask questions directly is up to the judge. In the first trial, it was allowed by this old judge. We know that Stephen Everett, despite the fact that he's very jolly and happy, didn't allow it.
Sure. So I started dating someone who was a friend of mine for many years, and it didn't become romantic until after I had filed for divorce. So about a month after I filed for divorce, someone who was a friend in my life became more like a boyfriend than a friend.
What was wrong with the television that had to be repaired?
Unfortunately, this judge had brain cancer. That's what's altering his speech, and he eventually died.
I think one of my kids might have thrown something at it, so there was a crack in the TV.
Why have Mr. Markel's parents not been allowed to see the grandchildren?
Well, they were allowed to see the grandchildren for 2 full years, and I used to cook meals for them and arrange play dates. We had sleepovers. And then I found out that that Ruth Markel had reached out to a foster care agency to try to place my children.
Great question by the juror, but a horrible answer by Wendy Jill. They simply wanted to know why the grandparents were not allowed to see the grandkids, and she's giving all this background that is self-serving, meaning it helps her, but it also makes her appear very guilty.
Agency. And I became very worried that they were trying to take my children away from me. And so after that time, I didn't feel a level of trust that they could spend time with the kids. I was afraid they were trying to take them from me.
That email was in reference to, in the event you and your parents were arrested in association with this crime, could I please contact that particular agency to assist with the children in the event they have no guardian temporarily until they could get down here from where they reside in Canada. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Georgia was able to question the sweet angel about her response, and we found out that Ruth Markel sent a letter to Georgia saying, if Wendy Jill is arrested, please have the kids transferred to this Jewish orphanage until we arrive down there. Therefore, Wendy Jill's response is clearly not credible because all Ruth Markel wanted to do was make sure that in the event she was arrested for that temporary time, the kids would have a place to go.
Okay, so they were not trying to take your children unless there was an event where you were unable to care for them.
But because there's no event in which I would be unable to care for them.
Many law troopers feel that Wendy Jill is about to get arrested. However, do you really trust an attorney that spends his day broadcasting on YouTube? Just recently, our beautiful Indian princess Haritha has appeared on the English version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and one of our reporters was able to catch a picture of the final question, which I believe she got right. Since Haritha is beautiful and smart, she knows that one thing that I tell you about each and every time we meet. You don't fuck with Donna Sue Adelson.
You said it.
And get me the fuck out of here!
I love you too, Judy.